What happens aback one of country music's bigger stars' alcove, his breaking point on a live television? Today we're diving into the atomic moment that had Blake Shelton affronted off the Today with Jenna and Friends show. Abrogation, millions of admirers abashed, and the ball apple buzzing. This isn't a Loof Edition celebrity account gone wrong. This is a masterclass in how bound things can, circling out of ascendancy aback egos affray, and boundaries get crossed. Accomplish abiding too. Subscribe and be to animate version beneath, because you won't accept how this able bearings unfolded. The morning started like any added on the Today with Jenna and a company show. Blake Shelton absolved assimilate the set with his brand grin. That amenable Oklahoma agreeableness that had fabricated him a domiciliary name. Jenna Bush Hager greeted him with her accepted activity, and the cameras formed as they acclimatized into what anybody accepted would be an archetypal promotional account for his latest album. Blake, it's so acceptable to accept you aback on the show, Jenna said, her articulation ablaze and affable as she adapted her notes. You attending great, by the way? Country activity is alleviative you well? Blake chuckled, clearing aback in his chair. Well, Jenna, you apperceive me? I'm aloof, a simple guy aggravating to accomplish some music and adore life. Thanks for accepting me on again. The chat flowed calmly at first, affecting on his new music. His activity abroad from The Voice, and his accord with Gwen Stefani. Blake seemed relaxed, arise jokes, an administration belief with his accepted above demeanor. But things began to about-face aback Jenna's co-host. Had been almighty quiet, absently to jump into the conversation. Blake, I accept to ask. The co-host interjected, aptitude advanced with a austere expression. There's been a lot of allocution afresh about your able comments on amusing media. Some bodies are added you've been tone-deaf about assertive amusing issues. How do you acknowledge to critics who say you're out of blow with what's accident in America? The smile on Blake's face flickered for aloof a moment. He straightened up slightly, and those who knew him able-bodied would accept accustomed the attenuate admonishing signs. His jaw anchored about imperceptibly, and his easily, which had been gesturing advisedly, now adequate durably on the armrests of his chair. Well, Blake said, his articulation still controlled, but with a slight edge. I anticipate that's a appealing loaded catechism, appropriate off the bat. I've consistently been honest about who I am, an area I appear from. I'm not aggravating to be article. I'm not. Jenna seemed to faculty the estriction architecture and approved to beacon the chat back to safer ground. Blake, let's allocution. About your new single, the admirers are absolutely admiring it, and the video is incredible, but her co-host wasn't accessible to let go. I anticipate it's important that we abode these things. Blake, you accept a platform, you accept influence. And some bodies feel like you haven't acclimated that responsibly. What do you say to adolescent admirers who are tending up to you but feel let bottomward by some of your positions? Blake's eyes narrowed hardly, and his articulation took on a bluff tone. Look, I acknowledge that you anticipate this is important. But I came actuality to allocution about my music, not to get ambushed about my claimed beliefs. I've never claimed to be a baby kisser or a amusing activist. I'm a country singer. Don't you anticipate that with abundant success comes abundant responsibility? The co-host apprenticed on blank, the added afflictive atmosphere in the studio. Your articulation affairs to millions of people. My articulation affairs aback I'm singing. Blake advanced back. His Oklahoma draw acceptable added arresting as his affliction grew. Aback I'm sitting in this chair. I'm actuality as an entertainer, not as someone's moral compass. And frankly, I don't acknowledge actuality lectured about albatross by addition who doesn't apperceive the aboriginal affair about my activity or what I angle for. Jenna jumped in quickly. Blake, we're not aggravating to abode you at all. We aloof appetite to accept an honest conversation. An honest conversation. Blake laughed, but there was no amusement in it. An honest chat would accept started with absolution. Me apperceive this was activity to be some affectionate of balloon instead of an account about my music. An honest chat would account the actuality that I'm actuality accomplishing you a favor. By announcement, my anthology on your show. The co-host wouldn't back down. I anticipate our admirers deserve to apperceive area their admired celebrity's angle on important issues. It's not about advancing you, Blake. It's about accountability. Accountability. Blake's articulation rose slightly, and he leaned advanced in his chair. Accountability for what exactly? For actuality successful? It's for accepting opinions that ability not band up altogether with whatever anecdotal you're aggravating to advance here? I've never hidden who I am, or Area 1 appear from. The restriction in the flat was now palpable. Camera operators exchanged glances. Producers aside actively into their headsets, and Jenna looked added atrocious to achieve ascendancy of the situation. The account that was declared to be an animated advance for Blake's new music had angry in too. Article abundant, added confrontational. Blake, Jenna approved again, her articulation demography, on an argumentation quality. Maybe we can aloof booty? A footfall back here. We're all friends, right? Let's allocution about article positive. Your bout is advancing up, and I apperceive admirers are aflame about that. But Blake wasn't accessible to let it go. The accident had been done, and his annoyance was now absolutely visible. You apperceive what, Jenna? I anticipation we were. Friends, too, but a company don't set anniversary added up like this. A company don't allure addition on their appearance aloof to bang them with antic questions about actuality that has annihilation to do with why they're there. The co-host, acutely absent to how abominably things were going, absently to bifold down. Blake, I anticipate your actuality a little arresting here. These are accepted questions that bodies are asking, or aloof aggravating to accord you. A belvedere to abode them. Defensive. Blake stood up abruptly, his microphone arranged communicable hardly on his chair. You appetite to see defensive? This is me actuality as affable as I can be while you sit there and basically alarm me capricious. And out of touch. I've been annihilation but admiring to you in your show, and this is what I get in return. The flat fell bashful except for the quiet hum of accessories and the abroad complete of aggregation associates alive uncomfortably. Jenna looked mortified. Acutely acumen that the account had gone absolutely off the rails. Her co-host, however, seemed to anticipate they were accepting some affectionate of advance moment. Blake, amuse. Sit down.
Oh?
Let's assignment through this together. I anticipate there's a complete befalling actuality for you to affix with bodies who ability feel alienated by some of your able statements. That was allegedly the final straw. Blake's face went from balked to absolutely bent in the amount of a heartbeat, his easily clenched into fists at his sides. In a back, he spoke, his articulation was low and dangerous. It's fixed with bodies who feel alienated. He afresh slowly. Anniversary chat decrepit with contempt. You apperceive what alienates people? Accepting some allocution appearance host who's never absolved in their shoes, acquaint them what they should anticipate and feel. You appetite to allocution about actuality out of touch, tending in the mirror? Jenna was aimlessly gesturing to her producers off camera, acutely atrocious for addition to cut to commercial. But the co-host seemed bent to advance this battle to its complete limit. Blake, I anticipate you're missing the point here. Not aggravating to acquaint anyone what to think. We're aloof allurement, you to booty albatross for the access you have. There it is again, Blake said, his articulation accepting louder with anniversary word. Responsibility. You accumulate application that chat like I owe you something. Like I owe anybody article aloof because I can backpack a tune and bodies appear. To like my music? Let me acquaint you. Article about responsibility. Albatross is to my family, to my admirers, who absolutely affliction about my music, and to myself. It's not to sit actuality and be your political punching bag. The co-host leaned back slightly, conceivably assuredly acquainted that they had pushed too far, but it was far too backward to a back bottomward now. I'm not aggravating to accomplish you a punching bag, Blake. I'm aloof aggravating to accept a elusive conversation. Meaningful? Blake laughed bitterly. You anticipate this is meaningful? You anticipate ambushing addition on a live television and a fresh lecturing them about albatross is meaningful? This isn't journalism. This isn't a like acceptable television. This is aloof you aggravating to accomplish yourself feel important by disturbing bottomward addition else. Jenna fabricated one after most atrocious advance to deliver the situation. Blake, please. Let's aloof booty a animation here. Maybe we got off on the amiss foot, but we can. About face this around. Your admirers' adulation, you. We adulation accepting you on the show. But Blake was already extensive for his microphone pack. His movements articulate and deliberate. You apperceive what, Jenna? I acclimated to anticipate. You were different. I anticipation you absolutely cared about your guests as people, not aloof as opportunities to account credibility or actualize ball for your ratings. Blake, that's not fair. Jenna protested. Her articulation arise slightly. You apperceive that's not what this is about, isn't it? Blake challenged, his eyes afire as he looked amid Jenna and her co-host. Fresh explained to me why I absolved in actuality cerebration. I was activity to elocution about music and instead got advised like I'm active for office. Explain to me why every catechism has been advised to accomplish me attending bad or put me on the defensive. The key host abundantly absentatively to arrest again. Blake, I anticipate your actuality anytime acute here. These are questions that any accessible amount should be able to answer. Blake chalked full what he was accomplishing and stared at the co-host with complete disbelief. Anytime sensitive? Did you aloof alarm me anytime acute for not absent to be ambushed on your show? I'm aloof adage that if you can't handle boxy questions, maybe you shouldn't be accomplishing interviews, the co-host replied. Allegedly not acumen. They had aloof lit the final fuse. The blackout that followed was deafening. Blake stood altogether still for a moment, and anybody in the flat seemed to be captivation their breath. Aback, he assuredly spoke. His articulation was baleful calm. If I can't handle boxy questions, he afresh slowly. Let me acquaint you article about administration boxy questions. I've been accomplishing interviews for over 20 years. I've been asked about aggregate from my divorces to my struggles with booze to my political angle to my accord with Gwen. I've answered them all candidly, respectfully because that's what professionals do. He took a footfall afterpiece to the co-host, his articulation assent with anniversary word. But what you're accomplishing isn't allurement boxy questions. What you're accomplishing is aggravating to actualize a moment, aggravating to get a reaction, aggravating to accomplish me lose my air condition so you can accept your viral clip. Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted, Blake. Please. Jenna approved already more, but he captivated up a duke to stop her. No, Jenna, I'm done. I came actuality and acceptable acceptance to advance my music and maybe accept some fun with bodies I anticipation were my friends. Instead, I get advised like I'm some affectionate a villain who needs to be taken bottomward a peg. He started walking against the bend of the set, affairs his microphone backpack absolutely off as he moved. Absolutely irresponsible? It's application your belvedere to advance bodies instead of adulatory them? It's apathy that the actuality sitting beyond from you is a animal actuality with feelings, not aloof agreeable for your show. The co-host, somehow still not accepting the message, called after him. Blake, active abroad isn't activity to break anything. Why don't you break and avert your positions? Blake chalked full asleep in his advance and boring angry around. Attending on his face was one that anyone who had any time beyond him would recognize, a mixture of hurt, anger, and complete disgust. Dend my positions, he said, his articulation alarmingly quiet. Dend them to who? To you addition who? Acutely fabricated up their apperception about me afore I alike absolved through that door. Addition, who thinks their job is to be judge, jury, and Apache instead of aloof allurement, questions and absolution bodies allege for themselves. He befuddled his arch and let out a beam that captivated no amour whatsoever. You apperceive what? The complete botheration is here. It's not that I won't avert my positions. It's that you never had any ambition of absolutely alert to them. You aloof capital to allurement me, to accomplish me attending bad, to account your points. Now Jenna was now visibly upset, tears basal in her eyes as she watched one of her admired guests absolutely lose acceptance in her show. Blake, I never capital this to happen. Amused, don't leave like this. For a moment, Blake's announcement ashened heartily as he looked at Jenna. I apperceive you didn't. Jenna, but this is what happens aback you let bodies with agendas annex your show. This is what happens aback you stop alleviative your guests like. Bodies and alpha, alleviative them like political targets. He glanced aback at the co-host with apparent contempt. And as for you, I achievement whatever you anticipate, you able actuality, was accounted because you aloof, austere, arch with addition, who has never been annihilation, but admiring to you. In your show, the co-host abundantly still seemed to anticipate they captivated the moral aerial ground. Blake, I anticipate you're overreacting. All I did was ask some questions that Bodhi's appetite answered. Questions that Bodhi's appetite answered. Blake's articulation rose to about a shout. Or questions that you capital to ask because you anticipation it would accomplish acceptable television. Because there's a big aberration amid confined your admirers and confined your own ego. He angry aback against the exit, but afresh paused and looked anon into the camera. You apperceive what? I anticipate the bodies watching at home deserve to apperceive what absolutely happened actuality today. They deserve to apperceive that I came actuality to allocution about music, to allotment some stories, to maybe accomplish bodies, smile for a few minutes. Instead, I got lectured about albatross by bodies who allegedly anticipate their job is to breach bottomward. Anyone who doesn't anticipate absolutely like they do, his eyes bound to simulate the camera lens with an acuteness that seemed to ability through the awning and grab admirers by the collar. If you're watching at home and you've any time acquainted like the media doesn't represent you fairly, like they're at it absorbed in creating ball, then absolutely alert to what you accept to say. Afresh, you aloof watched it appear incomplete. Time. The co-host confused uncomfortably in their chair, assuredly appearing to apprehend that Blake had aloof, angry the tables absolutely by speaking anon to the audience. He had bypassed them absolutely, and was now authoritative, the anecdotal in a way they hadn't anticipated. Blake, I don't anticipate that's a fair assuming of what happened here, the co-host approved weakly, but Blake wasn't finished. Fair, Blake. Angry abroad from the camera to face them again, his eyebrows aloft in disbelief. You appetite to allocution about fair? Fair would accept been cogent me afore we went on air that you planned to barbecue me about's back room instead of music. Fair. Would accept been alleviative me with the aforementioned respect. I've consistently apparent this appearance in anybody on it. He gestured broadly at the set about him. I've been advancing on this appearance for years. I've answered my albums here. I've aggregate claims stories. I've approved to be absorbing and aiding carrot, because I anticipation that's what you wanted. But allegedly what you absolutely capitaled was adventitious to booty me down. Oh. Jenna was now above board crying. Her anxiously activated architecture starting to run as she watched her appearance blast in complete time. Blake, I affirm to you, I had no abstraction. This was activity to happen. I would never accept capital this. Blake's announcement ashen. Afresh as he looked at her, for a moment it seemed like he ability to sit aback bottomward and try to assignment things out. Jenna, I accept you, I absolutely do. But the actuality that you didn't apperceive makes this alike worse, because it agency addition on your own aggregation anticipation, they could use your appearance to ambuscade me after a like cogent you. He looked about the studio demography and the abashed faces of aggregation members, the agitated whispers of producers, and the accepted anarchy that his battle had created. This is what happens at Backbowdy's balloon, that television is declared. To be about entertainment, about bringing bodies together, about authoritative their day a little brighter. Instead, it becomes about division, about antic moments, about authoritative bodies accept sides. The co-host, allegedly Butterfingers, of Account the Room, fabricated one final advance to deliver their position. Blake, I anticipate your actuality arbitrary to our viewers. They're cute bodies who can handle circuitous conversations about important issues. Blake stared at them for a connected moment, and aback he spoke. His articulation was abounding, with an affectionate of weary disappointment that was somehow added adverse than his beforehand anger. You apperceive what? You're absolutely appropriate about one thing. The admirers are acute people, barred abundant to see appropriate through what you aloof approve to do here. Acute abundant to admit the aberration amid a 18-carat chat and a affected attack. He started walking against the avenue again, but connected talking as he moved. Are there acute abundant to apperceive that a back addition invites you assimilate there. Adherence to allocution about your music, and afresh spends the absolute time aggravating to accomplish you attending like a bad person. It says a lot added about them than it does about you. Blake, amuse, don't leave like this, Jenna alleged. Out desperately. Can't we assignment this out? Can't we alpha over? Blake paused at the bend of the set, and angry aback one final time. His acrimony seemed to accept to steer itself out. Abrogation abaft article that looked about like pity. I've got annihilation but account for you personally. I can't assignment this out because this isn't about me and you. This is about what your appearance has become, what television has become of back bodies. Anticipate their job is to be prosecutors instead of hosts. He looked anon at the co-host again. And as for starting over, well, some things can't be undone. Some bridges already you bake them don't get rebuilt. You fabricated your best about what affectionate of appearance you capital to accept today. I'm authoritative abundance about whether I had appetite to be allotment of it. The co-host fabricated one after most atrocious advance to advance some affinity of dignity. Blake, I achievement you'll reconsider. I anticipate we could accept a absolutely advantageous chat if you'd aloof a Cordis edition chance. Blake absolutely smiled at that, but it wasn't an affable smile. A advantageous chat with addition who aloof spent the aftermost 20 account aggravating to acrylic. Me as some affectionate a villain. With addition who thinks ambushing guests is acceptable television, he befuddled his arch slowly. So he took a few added accomplish against the exit, a fresh chock full, and addressed the camera one final time. To anyone watching who's any time been a fan of my music, who's any time enjoyed the songs or appeared to a concert or aloof, had a acceptable time, alert to country music. I appetite you to apperceive that this isn't about you. This is about a media. Ability that's forgotten, how to amusement bodies with basal appropriateness and respect. His articulation grew stronger as he continued. I'll accumulate authoritative music because that's what I adulation to do. I'll accumulate assuming because. I adulation, abutting with bodies who acknowledge what I do, but I won't accumulate subjecting myself to this affectionate of analysis from bodies who anticipate their platforms accord them the appropriate to advance anyone who doesn't fit their narrative. Jenna fabricated one final plea. Blake, I affiance. You, if you'll aloof, stay, we can fix this. We can accept the chat you came actuality to have. Blake looked at her with 18-carat sadness. Jenna, the chat I came actuality to accept was about music, about joy, about administration, article complete with people. That chat died about 15 account ago, aback your co-host absentatively to about-face this into a political inquisition. He pulled out his buzz and glanced at it briefly. I've got a flat affair this afternoon with bodies who absolutely appetite to apprehend what I accept to say, not what they anticipate I should say. I've got admirers advancing to my shows who appetite to sing forth to my songs, not agitation, my politics. That's area I belong. It's not actuality accepting lectured by addition who thinks they apperceive bigger than I do about my own life. The co-host abundantly still couldn't abide accepting in one aftermost word. Blake, I aloof achievement you'll anticipate about what we discussed actuality today. I achievement you'll exceed how your words and accomplishments affect added people. Blake chock-full, asleep in his tracks. As for a moment, anybody in the flat anticipation he ability about face about and abide the argument. Instead, he batten after attractive back his articulation accustomed, acutely beyond the bashful set. You appetite to apperceive what affects added people, alleviate of them, like animal beings instead of political targets, assuming them account instead of aggravating to breach them bottomward for ratings. Architecture them up instead of attractive, for means to accomplish them attending bad, he assuredly angry about one aftermost time. Maybe you should anticipate about how your words and accomplishments affect added bodies, because today they amount this appearance a bedfellow who consistently approve to be. Annihilation, but able and respectful. With that, Blake Shelton absolved. Off the Today with Jenna and a company show. Abrogation abaft, a bashed studio, a devastated host, and a co-host who assuredly seemed to accept the consequence of what had aloof happened. The cameras kept rolling for a few added seconds, capturing the afflictive blackout in Jenna's tears, a for assuredly acid to commercial. What started as a accepted promotional account had become one of the best affecting walk-offs in contempo television history. A moment that would be replayed, analyzed, and debated for months to come. Blake had fabricated his point in the best absolute way possible, and the ball apple would never attending its celebrity interviews absolutely the aforementioned way again. So, what did you anticipate about Blake's Atomic Avenue from the Today? With Jenna and a company show, was he appropriate to airing off a back the account took that abrupt turn? Or should he accept backward and approve to assignment through the confrontation? Bead your thoughts in the comments beneath, and accomplish abiding to subscribe for added a baff to the scene's belief from the apple of entertainment. What added celebrity walk-off moments do you anticipate we should awning next?